Welcome to Secrets from the Saddle podcast. I'm Sylvie Dow, your host, fellow cyclist, bike club founder, cycling coach, bike race junkie, just truly super passionate about cycling. My journey with cycling started 20 years ago when I opened a spin studio, started a women's race team, and founded a women's only cycling club called Cycle Fit Chicks. I'm super thrilled to reveal all aspects that make the world of cycling operate. I'm so excited to be able to bring you interesting people from around the world, pro cyclists, recreational cyclists, coaches, event organizers, bike shop owners, everything and everyone you need to know or ever wondered about when it comes to cycling. I know you'll enjoy this episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Secrets from the Saddle, all things cycling podcast with your host Sylvie Dow, and we have a really interesting guy on this episode. His name is Mike Kelly. I've known Mike for about 20 years. We took our personal training certification together 20 years ago, and he has gone on to do some pretty cool things. He has been involved with sports and fitness for 45 years, so okay, way more than me, having been a professional trainer and continue to be training individuals virtual these days in strength conditioning coach, at a varsity level, an expert fitness witness for legal profession. We might have to ask him about that. And a pro trainer for canfitpro for 20 years. So that's when we went training together. And he certifies fitness professionals. He's also a cyclist. Let's just throw that in there too. Realizing there was a disconnect with many people who struggle to maintain good health and fitness over the long term, Mike went back to school to fill in the blanks in spring of 2020. He became Queen's University's oldest psychology grad during that period. So that was during COVID, right? What more to do than go back to school? Combining his extensive fitness background together with the psychology aspects, Mike's created and now delivers an accredited course called Why I Hate Exercise. The psychology, health, and fitness professionals need to know. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So as a cyclist, or maybe you're training for cycling, or you're into the gym training for cycling, or just simply know that you need to train to stay healthy and fit. We're going to dive into this with Mike, why we truly do hate exercise. And I can't say that I hate exercise, but there's certain times when I'm like, I really don't want to do it, but I know that I need to, and that's what drives me to exercise, cycling, fitness, strength training on a regular basis. The older you get, the worse things get, and we need to stay on top of that. So I hope you enjoy this episode with Mike. He is a really cool and funny and very knowledgeable individual. So let's get to it. All right, welcome back to another episode of Secrets from the Saddle, all things cycling podcast with your host, Sylvie Dow. And I have, like I mentioned, my special friend, Mike Kelly here is a very special friend.
I feel like I'm on Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, no, actually, you kind of sound like him. But we're going to be talking about kind of like 3 years, Mike being into personal training and his going back to school to get his psych degree, then the creation of his program, Why I Hate Exercise. And we're going to go dive right into that, because I know everybody out there are some lovers of exercise, but then there's the majority of people who just aren't into it, right, Mike?
I think I get that.
So welcome, Mike, to the podcast. I can't wait to talk about your program.
Okay, thanks very much for having me on, Sylvie. Any opportunity to spread the word is always good. Normally I can hear through the sound waves words like blasphemy.
You could say whatever you want on my.
It's true. I'm in the fitness business. I've been in it for over 45 years now, sports and fitness, and covering areas such as personal training, spin instructing, fitness classes, strength and conditioning coach, university level, varsity level, expert fitness witness for the legal profession, meaning someone. Yeah.
Can you touch on that actually?
Sure.
Fitness witness.
Sure. So in the fitness business, people sometimes get hurt. It may or may not be a valid case. I never actually get to see both sides of the story. I only see one, so I have to hold my own thought processes back. But as an instance, if someone gets hurt by a club or a trainer, they may take it upon themselves to want to sue.
Right.
By the way, it's starting up here in Canada. You'll actually see TV advertisements now. I won't mention the names. Bus advertisements where these ambulance chasers are looking for clients who are injured. And again, it may be truly valid, and they may have a valid point, but then again, it may not. Who knows? I never know. But in the only instance I've actually been to court, I mean, these things don't normally go to court, but the one instance I've been to court, fairly large gym, one of its trainers, a kinesiologist, trained an individual, and that individual cried foul that they blew out his shoulder. So this individual's lawyer hired me. Again, I only see one side of the story. And I wrote a 13-page report over many hours explaining from an anatomical progressive load and crease perspective of how things should be done to work on a joint like that from a strength perspective, range of motion, and so on.
Who are you representing? The trainer or the?
No. I never even saw. Well, I saw the trainer in court, but so I only see one side of the story to prepare the report, and so I take it as being honest, and I prepare based on that. And in this one instance, I'm trying to remember specifically. I think it was a rotator cuff. So in our muscle areas up here, we have 4 muscles that basically hold the arm into the socket, and they were damaged, and it hurt his livelihood. And he claimed that the trainer had him doing, they call them ballistic push-ups. They're really not ballistic, but that's what the industry calls them. Basically where you jump and you clap your hands and so on.
Oh, okay.
It's quite an aggressive move. If you're really athletic and work toward, like I do crazy push-ups. If I had the space here, I'd show you. I put my fists together and I do a full body lift off the floor and land on my fists. That takes a lot of training. It's mostly neuromuscular. Most people would snap their wrists, don't care how athletic you are. It takes a lot of training. Well, even a simple clap push-up requires a lot of progressive overload because it really increases the forces. Force equals mass times acceleration. So the force on a joint can be substantial. At the end of the day, to make a long story short, the trainer had not given enough preparatory warm-up, dynamic warm-up, let alone progressive overload to get to this. So they ended up losing. And in court, when I first got there, the magistrate has the examiner cross-examine me to see whether or not I'm validated or vetted as an expert witness. They did. They fire a lot of questions at you. You know your nose from your hole in the ground and so on. And they approved that, and they lost the case, and they had to pay out money, which I felt bad about because I never really saw what truly happened. But that's how the system works. So these experts in any industry, they never really see two sides of the story, I don't think. It's not that litigious up here in Canada as it is down in the States, but beware down in the States. Trust me, anything you do, it's scary. I've never, in all my gym experience, I've never had an accident actually occur acutely while I've been training someone. And that's one of my main motivators. But at the end of the day, I started out as a personal trainer, and I thought, okay, this is cool. I mean, we all do, as humans, we do things for selfish reasons to make us feel good. Yeah. Even the late Mother Teresa was selfish. She said it herself because it made her feel good to help the down and out in India and so on. I'm no different. When someone reaches some kind of a milestone or a goal that I help them build, I feel great. I feel elated that day. As opposed to listening to aches and pains and complaints that most people as clients will give a trainer. That being said, I was training individuals and that was working well, but on a fairly small note. So I decided to start teaching other trainers through canfitpro. That's Canada's largest fitness organization for certification. And I became a pro trainer for their PTS, or personal trainer specialist course. And I've been doing that for almost 20 years, trained 1,000+ people. And by definition, if I'm able to pass on any of my passions, which sometimes I have to hold back on because I'm following the company line, obviously, but I do tend to get some of my passion there. And so if I can train 1,000 people and I've got 100 clients and they might have 100 clients, then I've got reach to 100,000 people. That's my mindset. And then as I say, I've done the university level and the more athletic thing, which is fun. But as I say, training the mom and pops, those are the people that need most of the help in the world. And ultimately, I think through many years of doing this, I found there was one weak link. You might have seen this yourself when you're training people for biking or whatever. When they're under your tutelage, your guidance, they're doing fine. But what are they like when they're on their own?
Yeah.
And what I found is that, I'll give you an example. So I was a trainer at the US Embassy here in Ottawa for 7 years.
Oh, no.
Oh, by the way, safest gym in the world.
Yeah.
You drive into a sloped garage. This is in Ottawa. It's all barricaded.
Yeah.
But they let you in, the gates go down, and your car is x-rayed. You go down underneath, and the gym is three floors below ground level. And it's a nice gym. So the ambassador's wife and executive staff and people and so on. So I trained them for a number of years, over 7 years. But when you're there, you're only training you're only there for 3 years. You're on contract, and then you go back to some other location. That's how they cycle you through. And I found with some people, although they would reach a lot of goals, when they left my tutelage and went back to the States or wherever, I'd hear back from them. They'd have questions, and many of them fell off the health and fitness wagon that we worked so hard to get them on.
Yeah.
And I found that through, generally speaking. So, there was something missing. And that missing part was this thing, this bowling ball. And I said to you
Your
earlier,
head?
well, yeah, our brains. I used to think, without getting too into it, I used to think our minds basically controlled what we wanted the body to do. And there's a lot to that, meaning using this distributed network of how the brain works. But for the most part, it's mostly the hard wiring that we set up through our nurturing as we come out of the womb and then go through life. And we set up a lot of biases and beliefs. I'll give you a very quick example. Have you ever tried to change someone's opinion of something that you didn't agree with?
Yes.
Okay. How did you do?
Not well.
Yeah. Now, the reason you're not going to do well, in fact, the closer you are to the person, familiarity breeds contempt, but the closer you are to the person, the more difficult it will be.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the reality is, the reason it's so hard, and unfortunately, we live in this soundbite world of Twitter and Facebook. It's crazy. Like, never get into a discussion with anybody on social media. You're wasting your time because there's a big time gap. You don't have face-to-face. You can't read the audience, et cetera, et cetera. You're wasting your time. So the reality is that because we have all these biases set up in place, you're never going to change someone's opinion like that within a soundbite. What it requires is context. So assuming the person is of sound mind and body and not part of 150 mental disorders that we have registered out there, you will take the information you deliver to them, if it's palatable, meaning I deliver my course, I won't say dumb it down, but I put the context in that they can understand things. And once you start to see the information, then you can start to reason. You can say, oh my goodness. So there was a study with 40,000 people that came out and had this result, and that counterintuitive to what I believe. I better think about that. So you get people thinking about things differently.
Hey, gravel riders, are you new to the sport and had a fantastic summer exploring and getting to know gravel rides? And now you put together a kick-ass 2023 gravel event schedule, but you're not quite sure where to start with regards to training, staying, and keeping fit over the winter? Well, if that's the case, this might be the program for you. It's my 20-week winter online road cycling skills program. It's geared towards people just like you who are looking for ways to properly train over the winter. Hi, my name is Sylvie Dow, a level 3 cycling performance coach, bike club founder, and online cycling coach. I put together a killer 20-week online cycling skills program that runs from now till April. And here's what the schedule includes: cycling skills, hills, climbing, pedal stroke efficiency, intervals, endurance base building, everything you need to maintain and build a solid fitness base for the spring. Workouts are scheduled and planned, which takes all the guesswork out of how and what to train. It's all you need to do is really show up and absorb all the material. Here's why it's such a great program. Our current clients are already enjoying amazing fitness gains in such a short amount of time, and this could be you. How it works: you sign up for a monthly subscription that is only $49 Canadian. What you get for this low rate of only $49 is the most comprehensive winter coaching program on the market. You get access to online coaching from a level 3 performance coach, which is me, weekly cycling skills sessions, which is on Thursday, which include pedal stroke, hill climbing, and this session is also recorded. On weekends, we are set up with an endurance base building group ride on Swift, Tuesday night interval sessions on Swift, where we focus on sprints and speed, and also putting together all of our skills and techniques that we learned. This program is goal driven. We have clients who are looking with simple goals of just keeping fit, getting faster, and a lot of us are looking to ride 100K by April. This program is great for all time zones. But don't wait another moment to get involved in this program, and it's the best $49. Don't wait another moment to get involved in this program. It'll be the best $49 a month you've ever spent on training. And if you've ever been looking for a cycling coach, which I encourage you to go Google, $49 is a super affordable rate for what you're going to get. We have a supportive Facebook group with chat rooms for our training rides, access to an actual coach. Plus, you'll gain the knowledge you need to improve your cycling form, skills, and technique. Go to www.cyclingskillspro.com. That's cyclingskillspro.com for more information and to register today. Take advantage of all the benefits this program has to offer for an amazing deal of only $49 a month. Don't wait another week to get on track to training smarter, not harder, this winter. And a bonus for you guys: use the code GRAVEL to get 20% off your first month.
But, as a quick example on the podcast here, if someone votes for a certain political party and their parents voted that way, and their parents voted that way, you're not going to change their opinion short of their political party committing genocide. They can be corrupt, they can be hypocritical, they can be thieves. It's politics, right? But the reality is, unless you can provide them with an illogical pattern of abuse and counter references that they should consider and so on, they're not going to change their mind. So I found that in order to get people to understand exercise, meaning it is a problem, people don't do it enough, and they don't do it consistently enough for a sustainable aspect. I think you might know this expression because I've seen you on a spin bike. I've seen you on a road bike, Sylvie. Have you ever heard the expression, no pain, no gain?
Yeah.
This is craziness.
This
is for morons and Marines. I say Marines because I met a lot of Marines, and these poor devils, male or female, may be captured and tortured in warfare. That's how they train to deal with that challenge. But us mere mortals, pain is your body. It's a signal telling you there's something wrong, or you're not ready, or you're doing something incorrect technique-wise, which is many.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that anymore. It used to be because, I think it was just the thing. No pain, no gain. You got to keep going. But there's different levels of pain. You know, there's mental pain, there's physical pain, and there's like real pain, like you're saying, it's time to stop. It's not getting better and you're going to do damage to your body. And I don't know. I don't use it anymore. I think it's really
well, there's an old adage in the running world. I used to be a runner. I'm not anymore. I've come to my senses. But the reality,
see, you're a cyclist, like all good runners do.
Well, I also wear a heart rate monitor, Steph. I might have told you I wear a monitor when I bike, say, you know, up Camp Fortune Hill or whatnot, the Gatineaus, because I still have a competitive. The problem here is this thing, this bowling ball, this 10-pound bowling ball forgets that from the neck down, things have changed. From a physical decline, it's human nature. So we have it from a physical tissue perspective. We also have it from a hormonal perspective. And it's not good. Now, the challenge is to deal with those hurdles, to come out on top as best you can and delay the decline. But as I say, is it any wonder why men's over 40 hockey is the highest incidence of heart attacks for men? Why? Because when they were 20 years old, they played junior hockey. They were really good, really fit. Then they took all their habits that they had as teens to their aging body. They also became sedentary, sat in their office chairs a lot. They go out and the only exercise they do is once a week on the ice rink. And it's pickup hockey. So they might be against a 20-year-old on the other side on the right wing. The puck goes down to the end. The brain says, listen, you play junior hockey. Smoke that 20-year-old, go get the puck. And of course, stuff happens. But the no pain, no gain, what it should be is no strain, no gain. If you don't strain the tissue,
I like
that. Now you're hearing that from me. That's my catchphrase. Well, I've got a few catchphrases. I'm going to be trademarking the no strain, no gain, but it's dated here. So I've got it first. I'm on other references to say that. It's in my course. But the reality is, if you don't strain the tissues in a safe, progressive way, there will be no reason for the brain to want to put resources to it to put a positive change in place. But the difference between strain and pain is, as you say, it's levels. And in the running world, to come back to that, there's an old adage to say, listen, if you're not feeling good, get through the first 10 minutes and you'll be okay. Yeah, it's true. But what's really happening is your
body's warming up.
Well, it is to a degree, but really your body is releasing analgesics, opioids. Okay. You might think of it, you've heard the word endorphins.
Yeah.
So beta endorphins. They're not fixing the problem, they're masking it. So while you're running, and if I put you at 120 pounds and you run, I hope you didn't mind me saying your weight online there.
Oh, you're so sweet.
So if I say you're 120 pounds and
you don't want to see me at 120 pounds.
you can easily generate in an appropriate run pace 1,000 pounds of force on your joints. 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, and can you imagine like heavier?
Which is why biking is so much better. A side story, I did triathlons, but I realized that a triathlon is a nice bike ride spoiled by a run and a swim.
Here. I tried one too, and I'm like, this is the most boring sport ever.
No, I did a lot of them. And,
oh, you did? I did too. And
they were fun, but I've got ichthyophobia, so I gave up on it.
What? What's ichthyophobia?
Ichthyophobia is the fear of fish.
Oh, really?
Yeah, laugh as you may, but trust me, if you've ever had, I was swimming in Lake Ontario at a triathlon, the Kingston Triathlon, and a seaweed fish attacked me, which is basically just seaweed that my mind thinks was a fish. And I took a panic attack, a scary panic attack. The kayakers that came around, like the reason we wear bathing caps in triathlons is because so the kayakers can find you bobbing. But they immediately came over to me, and I'm a decent swimmer, not the best, but I'm a mid-pack swimmer. When I learned how to swim in a pool, and I learned really well, so I was fine. But swimming in Meech Lake is a lot different than Lake Ontario. So the seaweed fish attacked me. There's a lot of weeds in Lake Ontario, and I panicked, hyperventilating. I lost my stroke. I was just no technique whatsoever. When you panic, there's no control. They came over and they said, do you want to tap out, grab the boat? And I said, no. There were people there that came to see me finish. And so I breaststroked the entire way into shore. I was the last one out of the water.
That's me.
You know what's so cool about
that? Was it in Brockville?
It was Kingston. But what's so cool about that? I have never passed so many people on a bicycle in my life.
Yeah.
So, but
yeah, I had one person pass me. I think he was 80 years old. I'm like, okay, you got it. I can't even keep up with you. Holy crap.
Oh, it's like an exalt technique.
Oh my God, he was fast.
In any event, back to the main thought process here. Because of seeing so many people fall off the wagon, I wanted to see why. So for many years, I'd wanted to get a psychology degree, and it's tough. When the older you get, the harder it is. But finally, I succumbed and funded out of my own pocket. So I was really intent to learn. I went back to Queens, it'd be 5 years ago, and in spring 2020, I became their oldest graduate for that term in psychology.
That was probably the best time to do it, no? Because like you couldn't work, you could just do online courses.
Yeah, I did a lot of it online, but the reality is it's hard. It's really hard.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
When I was doing engineering stuff back when I was in my 20s, C's, D's get degrees. I went to play tennis varsity. But here I was on the dean's list, not boasting, but I was just so into it. And I was doing side stuff with profs to get inside information about how this applies to the fitness world. So
the maturity level makes a huge difference, and the drive to do something you really want. That's the difference. Sure. Doesn't matter what your age is, right? Like, and they're at a party, you're there to accomplish something.
And that concept applies to fitness. Like, in this course that I run, I'll talk about that coming up, but the biggest driver people have that many people lack is a sense of purpose. Now, there's two types of information. There's two types of information in the world. There's anecdotal. So my late mom's hairdresser said, if I stand on my head, I'll promote hair growth. It doesn't work. And then there's empirical. So this is science-based, peer-reviewed, blind studies, control groups, and so on. The more groups, the better, meta studies, et cetera, et cetera. It's not bulletproof. In fact, any good theory in science, the goodness about it is it can be challenged. If it can't be challenged, then it's not really a good theory. So our concepts and understandings of exercise have changed throughout the decades. But relatively speaking, we know we need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I will share with you this. In addition to being human, we all have something in common on the planet, every single person. And that is something that makes it difficult, if not impossible, to get healthy and fit and stay there sustainably throughout our lives. That thing that makes it difficult is the brain. You see, the brain, very ancestrally, historically, prehistorically, does not want to give up calories that come into the body. Our only purpose for eating right now, a lot of people might think, well, I enjoy a good meal or the taste of it. No, that's not the purpose as far as the brain. The brain sees it for energy. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's the only purpose of macronutrients. But way, way, way long ago, it was hard to come by. Food was hard to come by, famines and so on, et cetera. So let alone the fact we were very active searching out your food or making your food. But the reality is that's not the way it is now. Food is readily available. It's called incentive value and so on. But with that being said, we still have that wired into our complex. And so when calories come in, it doesn't want to give them up. Well, guess what exercise does? Exercise burns calories.
Mm-hmm.
And the trick is, I tell a lot of clients this, the trick is that humans don't plan to fail, meaning at their well-being and so on. They fail to plan.
I've heard that before.
And the best laid plans, you've got to have support plans to make sure those first plans work. A quick example. I used my Instapot last night and I made a week's worth of steel cut oats, which I love. I put them in a bunch of bowls that I would put in the fridge later, wrap them. So I wrap them in cellophane, but always I let them sit out because I don't want my fridge turning on extra hard to cool down these 6 bowls of hot porridge. So I let them sit out. Well, guess what I did? I left them out. I left them out all night because I've got dogs here and I was looking after the dogs and I just forgot about them. They were out on the counter. So I came up this morning and got, oh crap, salmonella. So
Oh, don't you
yeah.
really?
So anyway, well, it can happen.
I do that all the
They say,
time.
yeah, they say 2 hours, something like that, hot cooling down in an ambient temperature could generate salmonella if it was present. You don't know. So at my age, I'm not going to take a chance. So there it goes. All that, what a bummer. So I failed. My plans failed, right? My preparation. And exercise is no different. Most people do not have a plan. They work on the basis that the brain wants immediate gratification. Well, guess what, everybody listening? By the way, is this audio video or just video? Audio.
Both.
It's both. Cool. All right. Well, listen up, everybody. The reality is most people set the bar too high for themselves. You're setting yourself up for failure. Why? Because you're on a physiological, even psychological, if you think of the mental challenges, stress, and so on a declining curve. And yet, as I say, I come back to the men's 40 hockey, we have this declining package from the way down, and yet we're still thinking we have the 20-year-old package, trying to do the same things. And you're just setting yourself for failure or injury.
Yeah.
You know, the way I bike now is, I mentioned earlier, I have a heart rate monitor on, and I set my watch to beep when I hit a certain level. Not to lose weight. I do enough to deal with that. And I have a good balanced approach to eating, more or less. But the reality is, when that thing beeps, it's saying, shut the bike down, stupid. You're not 20 years old anymore. You're climbing a hill. You're trying to maintain, I don't know, 15 clicks per hour or something against some 20-year-old up the hill. Shut it down. You're not ready today to do that. That's how I use a heart rate monitor. So it's to take control of my male ego. Oh, gee, I could talk for hours. Male egos. You know, most men are delusional when it comes to fitness.
Tell me more.
Most men that are in the fitness business think they have six packs. Well, I will share with you. I have a 5 3/4 pack.
5 3/4.
That simply means that I'm unwilling to be in a gym 6 days a week to work out, let alone be hangry from not eating a consistent amount of food that I enjoy eating. I love eating, which is one of the reasons I do exercise. And let me be clear, I do hate exercise, but that's because I understand it really well, physiologically and the psychological stuff, more so than most, at least. I also understand that I know very little. In psychology, we call that the illusion of explanatory depth. Most humans think they know more than they really do. The more we learn, the more we realize we really know nothing on a grand scheme of things, with all the literature.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, but, you know, you talk to any biker, ask for a tip or a hint about biking, improving my biking technique, and they'll start rambling like, you know, they're the gift of the biking world. You know, they might know 30-second sound bites or little pieces they found off the internet. But it's a lot more complex than that. And the body is so complex, but it's also very cool. And if you challenge it appropriately and set yourself up for success by planning, you'll normally yield positive results.
Yeah.
But we're also, in addition to wanting instant gratification from a hard wiring perspective, we also are very impatient.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yes.
You know, the reality is that
we need, like you're saying, we need changes. We need things to happen right away. You're like, oh my God, give yourself a year.
minimum. Well, here, think of it this way, Sylvie. Most people reach some decline over a period of time. Let's say they're 30 years of age and they gain 10 pounds since they were 20. Medical science has said that if you are healthy and feeling good, movement-wise, at the age of 18 for males, for females, 21 for males, that's actually the ideal weight you want to maintain throughout your life to minimize cardiovascular risk. Very few people are able to do that on a sustainable basis. As I say, the six-pack ab thing, I applaud people that want to put that effort in, but a lot of people would argue it's actually not healthy. You're down to near minimal levels of essential body fat, and you're putting your brain through such a rough ride that it doesn't like. The brain, by the way, does not like a decline of probably any more than 10% of what you're normally used to eating.
Yeah.
If you do drop below that, you will literally get your brain to kick back in some very negative ways. that will haunt you, and ultimately, among other things, cause yo-yo dieting.
Yeah. That's like when because I've done many figure competitions in bikini like since 2004, like I don't know, probably 15 plus.
Mhm.
And I always say, like there's a time when like you set a goal for a competition and that's when you're all in the eating, the fitness. It is not something you can maintain past that. It's I did one summer, I did like 4 competitions all the way up to nationals. And I had to because I made it at regionals, then I made it at provincials, and there was no way that I was going to do that all year round again to go to nationals the next year. So I had to maintain my body, my figure fitness for like 6 months. It was even longer, like probably January to like August. It was extremely hard. And I was so thankful when it was over, but it is a phase. And,
Yeah,
I look at that, I'm like, you know what? I would love to have those 6-pack abs that I had when I was training 4 or 5 days a week and on that diet. But I'm like, oh, realistically, Sylvie, there's no way that you're going to go back there unless you decide to make something of that nature a goal, like a competition. Otherwise, you're not going to do it.
sure.
And yeah, and
Well,
just
here, let me
your
share this with your listening, viewing audience.
yeah.
Just because you don't see a set of 6-pack abs, which basically means within our waist, we have 2 compartments, super adipose tissue and then deep adipose tissue. When the 2 tissue boundaries merge together, you would be considered a 6-pack set of abs, which representatively is about 12-15% for a female and certainly sub 12% for a male, depending on your height. But here's the deal. It takes very little. I can take most people and give them rock hard abs in a very short period of time. You won't see them because their body fat is too high. But as I say, if you can see me here for a moment here, I'm going to take a hard punch. Okay. Now, I used to teach martial arts and kick. I still do individually. But that being said, I'm not at, I'm at about 18, 19% on a good day, body fat. So I'm not a 6-packer, but I don't need to be, because the abs that I develop, in fact, the 360-degree core strength I have helps me deal with the challenges that I've set forth in my life, including a herniated disc when I was 20. So I'm a back club member and I have to be cognizant of that. That being said, to have the size, and I can put on weight. I can put on weight like anybody. Okay, when my 2 parents passed away, I put on weight. I was well over 200 pounds. It can happen. Okay, I'm not an ectomorph. Okay, I'm more of a meso-endomorph person, which is body types, everybody out there.
Yeah.
So that being said, I can put on weight, but I also realize that if I let that get out of control, I'm going to pay the price. And I do exercise for basically dealing with stress, and it's brutal out there right now. The stresses on individuals. The world is a tough place to be, and if you let it overcome you, genetic wise or just systemic wise or socioeconomic reasons, it's not a good place to be, and it's really hard to get out of. If I'll back up for a second, because this is fairly important. When I was in my early 20s, playing varsity tennis or whatnot, I had a male ego that was as good as anybody's. And I know when I'd be working late as a waiter and a bartender to put myself through school, I'd go out afterwards over to the Quebec border where the bars were open later, and I'd hang out with the group. If we saw somebody that was obese, I'm coming clean now, because I would, with them, I would make snide remarks and tease them.
Yeah.
Which is so disgusting. Now when I see someone now that is on the declining side of physical movement and health and wellness and functionality because of weight gain and so on, I say to myself, oh my God, what can I tell this person? What one thing can I tell them that'll give them some insight to get them to research it further? Because I'm not going to change their lifestyle by just talking to them on the street or in a bus seat or in an airplane seat or something. So I normally give them one soundbite that, that sounds interesting. Let me research that and see if that'll take hold. But it's not good. You're going to gain weight over time, and it only gets harder and harder. It's tough.
That's probably one of my main motivators because you know, I've seen a lot of clients, right? You hear the stories all the time. You know, had kids, parents passed away, you know, whatever it is that caused you to, you know, let go of yourself,
Yeah.
I had to say it, and not put yourself first and start eating and not exercising and making it. I mean, like this fly. I'm gonna kill
You've
this
got
fly.
good camera video. I can see that fly.
I know. Just a second. You see that?
Let's see how your reflexes are. You're in Canada. Where are the flies coming from?
You know what? I don't know. We're trying to figure that out. Like it's like November. Like I don't know where they came from, but they're around and
I
it's
stopped
like
riding my bike. I don't want to put snow tires on them.
But
Let me ask you a question. Sylvie, let me ask you a question.
yeah.
You have family.
Yeah.
You have friends. You're very well known. Who's the most, don't give me any names, okay? This is being broadcast. Who's the most important person in your life?
Me.
Bingo, bingo. If I ask 100 people that, and you're included, only 99 are gonna say, only one is gonna say that. 99 are gonna say, oh, it's my wife, it's my daughter, it's my son. No, it's you because of them.
Yeah. And what happens when you cannot function for them?
Exactly.
That's what I like a lot of people don't get. And I see people deteriorate just to keep their kids going. It's that as a parent is so unresponsible on their part, and it's sad because
real quick story. When I was teaching tennis part-time at the Auto Athletic Club, there was a member there, Arthur King, I think was the name. I can't remember. He was 93 years of age, and I would go out and I would help him occasionally. He'd be out there practicing serving at that age. Like he wasn't that competitive, but for his age, he was, you know, he was walking, right, moving around. And I asked him one day, I said, Arthur, what drives you? And he told me, he was very passionate. He said, it's my son. His son had some brutal disease like muscular dystrophy or something, and Arthur had to look after him. So he had to stay active to just like you said, and that's the reality of life.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a moniker. I've got a moniker and online. People are interested in Instagram and so on. I'm called the cynical trainer. I'm not very good at social media, but
when you get on there, watch out.
Yeah, well, no, my reasons for I'm not cynical of everything, but you know, in fact, if you don't question things in life, things will run amok. So you've got to have some cynicism.
You have to be honest also to people.
True.
Like, you know, they're like, so what do you think? Well, you really want to know what I think? Or do you want me to give you the fluffy version of what you want me to say?
Exactly. So, you know, my cynicism
you feel good.
Well, my cynicism is mostly related to how people inherently feel the government's going to be there for them in their latter years when they start to decline.
Oh.
The government can't look after itself. How are they going to look after you? And then pharmaceuticals with their magic panacea, their pills and so on. You know, if I get bit by a snake, I want an anecdote. So yes, give me the anecdote from the pharmaceutical, but otherwise, you know, if you issue someone a pill to deal with excess weight gain, sure, it'll deal with that, but it won't make you healthy. Every body tissue has to be physically challenged, or it will start to atrophy, deteriorate, and so on, and leach, etc. So you still have to do that. It's just very hard for people to get that way, even though if I asked 100 people if you love doing exercise, especially in the fitness industry, most of them, because of peer pressure, will say, of course I do. Yes, I do. I love doing exercise. No, you don't. You don't understand it properly, which is why you're saying that. So coming back to what I referenced earlier, that if you're given context that makes sense, it'll allow you to reevaluate things. And when you understand a problem better, you can deal with the problem better. What's the problem? Well, over 1 billion people worldwide are dealing with obesity. Not because they want to, because there's not a person on the planet, no matter how much they smile and use defensive mechanisms to cope with the challenges that their bodies are now dealing with. It's super hard. Excess weight is brutal on people. It can literally, 1 in 5 people can become depressed from have obesity issues. But when people cope with that, one of them is to say, I'm happy being overweight. at the end of the day, there's not a person on the planet of sound mind and body that wants to give up any functional movement that's been given to them. So I'm talking simplistically that if you're used to getting out of a chair, you know, in a sagittal plane, straight up without any arm assistance, without any inertia movement, isn't it a shame to have to lose that to where now, because you've gained a lot of weight, you have to push to one compensated side or push on the armrest to push yourself out of the chair, or grab the handle to get out of your car? No one wants to lose that ability.
Right.
So we as humans fall into disrepair, not because we want to, we don't know any differently. We're ignorant of what we can do. And part of the problem is there's so much information out there on the internet, et cetera, it becomes overwhelming to people as to what they should do. My answer is really simple. Start simple. Start really simple. No matter whatever it is you're used to doing, for anyone looking to deal with weight. And it doesn't matter if there's genetics or your thyroid is affected. At the end of the day, if you do an appropriate amount of nutritional intake and exercise, you will come out on the positive on the scale. It's just incredibly hard to do it because you need to plan and so on. You need the resource information. But if you're used to doing something, let's say you're used to walking a city block in 25 minutes. Okay, that's a kilometer out here. A city block is a kilometer. That's a very slow walk. But if you can comfortably do that without breaking a sweat per se and hurting yourself, because pain is not a good thing, what you need to do is do that for 2 weeks straight on a regular basis. Then the third week, knock off an entire 5 seconds off that 25 minutes, which sounds irrelevant. Well, that's no big deal, Mike. I can do that easily. Of course you can. That's the whole point. You want to progressively challenge the body, meaning the brain and its components underneath, to adapt to the challenges you're giving it. That way, the brain will not kick back in a negative way. By changing your metabolism, many people who have very tight, restrictive caloric cut diets physically damage their metabolism permanently for the rest of their lives. This is science. Okay?
Yeah.
And then
well, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but like, so I work in the service industry in the restaurants.
Sure.
So, you know, you've got all those that are glutinous, they don't eat that. And I mean, you know, some people I'm just like, what can you eat? Like, what are you allowing yourself to eat? Or is it truly an allergy? Or you've just decided that, you know, I'm not eating these foods because of, or I'm like a type of vegan. I'm like, oh my God, like.
If you have celiac disease, that's one thing.
Yes,
the body doesn't possess the ability to break down gluten, so you have to deal with that. If you're doing it with as a trend, then all the power to you. But you know, that being said, I tell people this, my clients this: listen, life's too short. You've heard it before, and everything in moderation, if it fits within a proper plan.
Yeah.
I like French fries. I eat them occasionally, but not that often. So
and you enjoy them, right? Because
life
you didn't
is too short. Sure.
Or like need them. I just wanted them.
Yeah.
So let's go into your program, because I know we've been like talking about it and you've been talking, mentioning it, but let's like really get into the program that you put together and things that, say, a listener here would expect during the program, because we have been chatting about certain things that you have been talking about. And then of course, after, you're going to say, you know, let everybody know when the next one is available. But let's get into like why I hate exercise. You've heard Mike saying that throughout our conversation, but you know, just dive into that program and how you kind of, what the curriculum like.
Okay. Well, the subtitle is of why I hate exercise is, quote unquote, the psychology health and fitness professionals need to know. The course actually is appropriate to anybody, but from a niche marketing perspective, I define it for the health and fitness world because that's the one I know the best. And so I run courses corporately for some of the large gyms, and I also run public versions.
Okay, so you do it for coaches and personal trainers, and then for the public?
If you have a brain and you're dealing with life, you're going to learn a lot. I'm going to save you from going back to school for all those years and the fitness background. I package it in a way that makes sense. And the way it's actually packaged First of all, it's an accredited course, so you get 4 CECs if that's what you're looking for.
That's for what accreditation?
Well, it's through canfitpro.
Oh, say okay, so canfitpro.
Now, the way accreditations work is that if you don't see it on your organization's website page, ask them if they will accept accreditations from foreign bodies.
Right.
And many times they will. Many times.
So is this for, like, say, any American fitness?
I've had people from all over the place.
Very cool.
You know, it's to each their own if they can get them applied. But at the end of the day, the course is really about this. It improves your empathy.
Oh.
Okay. Now, by that, I mean, you're a very caring person, but
Sometimes.
but
don't give me your excuses.
No. Okay, if you were talking to Mother Teresa, you would have the epitome of empathy towards being physical or being a human, the challenge of being a human. And there would probably, I'm guessing, I never met the woman, but I wish I could have. But the reality is that I bet she never had an off moment of any sarcasm or, I don't really mean that kind of thing or whatever. Her empathy was like ultimate. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I was 20 years of age, I might, if someone confronted me face to face, I might present a certain empathy image. But what I was truly feeling? No, it wasn't. I'm being upfront. Now, when I see an overweight person, I say to myself, oh my God, the challenges this person has in front of them, they have no idea. Some of them may, but most of them don't, about the decline of how the body is changed when we bring in too much excess weight. So it really does that by presenting things from a hurdle perspective. So I literally throw a picture of a hurdle up and then I define what this hurdle is. So one hurdle, for example, is genetics. In the course, I think there's 10 different hurdles that are dealt with. Big proportion on stress, but there's a fair amount on genetics. Because a lot of people will say, well, listen, this is a hand I was dealt, and this is why I am what I am. True. The hand you were dealt with is what it is. But it doesn't have to completely take hold of you if the nutrient aspect, meaning your environment, is more positive and reflective of a healthier lifestyle.
Right.
So as an example,
it doesn't have to define you.
No, both my, like, I was
you're too tall, you're too short.
Exactly. Like, so I was the child of 2 late parents who were both, at that time, they would have been called social alcoholics. It used to be called alcoholism, but right now in psychology, it's called alcohol users disorder. Alcohol's a toxin. I could talk for hours on this topic, by the way, but so I'm not going to. I used to, it's been 36 years since I've had any alcohol, 0 complete abstinence. I won't get into that discussion. But the reality is both my parents passed on the 23 chromosomes to me. That genealogy is in me. If I was drinking, consuming alcohol, I could very easily become, quote unquote, from older days references, an alcoholic, at least a social alcoholic, and hopefully a functional one as they were. It's scary. There's only 11 criteria, I believe, in alcohol users disorder. You only need 2 to be considered a mild alcohol users disorder to actually have a disorder. Trust me, most people that drink these days probably have those 2 criteria. It's scary.
Is that regular consumption?
Yeah, pretty regular, like depending on the content and so on, but 1 to 2 drinks on a daily basis, which is
what about
nothing.
A week?
Which is nothing for most people. You think of the social, think what COVID has done. Like, the challenges stress-wise that is put on our social well-being is just incredible. It's scary. God, it's almost made me OCD. You've been over to the gym, and I can't remember if I put my mask on or not. Did I?
No.
Yeah.
You hugged me, don't you remember? No, it's kidding.
No, I did not. But I've got a client coming over, well, at some point for a fitness assessment. And, if that were the case, I'd have a mask on. So, but hopefully that'll all come to bear at one point, and we'll all come out on top with a feeling buoyant about it again and robust immune systems. But in the interim,
robust immune systems. That's something we've been hurting for.
Yeah, well, sure. And I do exercise. I hate it because I understand it. But I've got a lot of mechanisms and tools in place to help me get through what my brain hates to do.
Right.
And the course breaks it down. So as an example, we'll go through genetics and explain what it really means how it might affect you, but then it shows the comparative aspects of things like protective factors that you could put forth in your life from a monozygotic twin comparison. Twin studies are the best ways to compare things in psychology. And it shows in many cases that those that take one path and those the others can end up with very different lifestyles and very different physicalities, overweightness and so on, or addiction. But again, part of the original concept I said was developing better empathy, understanding this. And as you start to understand the problems better, as I build them up, you start to realize, oh my God, it really is tough being human, let alone being healthy and fit. I had no idea about this. And at the end of the course, through workshops and so on, you start to develop these tools and skill sets to help your clientele better, but inherently, unbeknownst to you, you're helping yourself too, because you're no different than anybody else, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, people that look driven out there, then they're laser focused and rock hard six-pack abs, they can be just as unhappy as anybody else, and sometimes more so, you know, but their facade is not allowing it to be shown and so on. I'm more forthright. I'm telling you I hate exercise. I'm telling you I don't like cutting calories. I'm telling you I need to exercise because I'm trying to deal with the stresses of being human and so on, let alone I love eating. And by the way, I exercise because I love biking.
Yeah.
Exercise's definition is exertion, without getting into descriptively here. But if there's no exertion, it's not exercise. Well, when I'm on my bike, I might be exerting myself. I might not. If I'm buzzing down the hill, I'm not really exercising. I'm just coasting in my aero position, hanging on for dear life. Hands on, by the way, hands on the brake now. My hands are always on the brakes. I don't go over 50 anymore. I used to be 80 plus going down steep hills in the Gatineaus or whatnot. No more. It's craziness. I get my buzz, I get my enjoyment by still doing 50, or on the flats doing 40 or whatnot. But when I'm exerting myself, I'm only able to do that at my tender age because I did the exercise beforehand to build up the ability. And then to know what to do when I get off the bike. That's also important to avoid things like delayed onset muscle soreness and so on. So at the end of the day, it's about planning. You got to find the information. So as I said, the course builds on various hurdles to help you better understand, not only giving you the tools to deal with things better, but also helping inherently, you don't realize it, it helps build up empathy for other people, which is a good thing, and it comes through more sincerely, which means from a trainer perspective or a clinician, a physiotherapist or whatnot, or even a doctor, you inherently will develop better relationships with your clientele, your patients, because you're having a more solid sense of empathy, which inherently comes through in the relationship. But yeah, so people can go to wemeanfitness.com. It sounds like we mean business. It's wemeanfitness.com. And from there, they can see the course references and following the channels of communication. They can find a public course. The next one is December 7th and 8th.
Okay.
Doesn't matter where you are in the world.
Are you, so how long is the course? So it's 2 days.
Yeah, it's 4 hours per day.
Okay.
They typically run from 4 p.m. till 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's a very short break just to grab a snack, but I send you all the preparatory information, how to set up your video and audio connections and so on. It's run over Zoom. I put people into workshop breakout rooms and things like that, but it's very interactive. I will challenge you. There's no exam to worry about. You just have to show up to get your CECs. But you know, at this level of knowledge, people are they're paying for this because they want to learn something that they don't know, that's going to improve their business relationship, their work ethic aspects, and certainly in many people, their own individual mindsets to help them deal with the challenges. But I'm not trying to prove anything. It's a given. Obesity is out of control. Dealing with things as we age is difficult, and knowledge is powerful. But there's so much out there, not necessarily from me, but find it from a source that's got, you know, some science backing behind it, that's palatable, that you can understand, and take it in chunks where you can implement it for yourself or your clients, and you'll come out ahead. So that's it.
Well,
And by the way, if your clients mention your name, I'll give them a little discount. but they have to email me to get that discount. So don't go and register because you won't have a code. But if they email me, so mkelly, MKELLY at wemeanfitness.com, before they register, I'll give them a code. They can put it in the coupon thing and get a bit of a discount as a thank you for watching the podcast.
So did you guys hear that? If you email Mike at mkelly@wemeanfitness.com and you mentioned that you heard him on the podcast, he'll give you a discount code as a special thanks. So I hope all of our listeners, we have majority of the listeners are in the US over Canada, surprising. And, maybe this is something that you'd find interesting for your own personal well-being, I'd say, because it is a mindset. I mean, like you, Mike, there's days when I don't want to do anything, but I know that I have to because of, I'm in my 50s now, and I see the changes, and I know exactly what would happen if I stopped doing what I'm doing. And I don't want to deal with that along with everything else, right? If I can have one thing in my corner, it's my fitness and my nutrition. And that makes everything else easier to deal with, quite frankly.
I'll leave you with a positive thought, and your listeners.
Yeah.
Because I consider myself young, by definition, you have to be young because you're a lot younger than I am.
I am.
It's the reality.
I know. I feel young, and it's funny. People don't give me 50, which I'm going to keep it that way. But it's not without work on a daily basis.
Yeah,
lifestyle. And lifestyle. Yeah, you don't have to be hardcore. Like, you don't have to be outrageously fit and doing exercises 7 days a week. That's really not what you should be doing. That's even worse.
I promise to give some people that attend the course some epiphanies that'll turn some light.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh my God, I had no idea of that. And they're powerful. Those types of things are powerful for people. So I look forward to teaching everybody on the planet one day. And time will tell.
Well, everybody take the opportunity to jump into this one before Christmas hits and the holidays, and get yourself set up for the new year with some great information from Mike, because this can only help you move yourself forward in a positive nature. So with that, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you got some good nuggets, and you're going to go and check out Mike's course. Like he said, there's one coming up. When is it? December
7th and 8th.
7th and 8th. And of course, he'll have ones in the new year, but that's probably the one that you should check out, if any, just to get you set up. So with that, thanks a lot, Mike. I appreciate you. And thanks everybody for tuning in.
Pleasure. I'll see you on the road one day.
Yes, we should go riding for sure.
Cool. Well, I don't know if I can keep up.
Oh, don't worry about it. Well, maybe if you're not, I am doing some training. I've got some goals next year. So
cool.
I'm on my bike.
Right. Okay, Sylvie.
Right.
See ya.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Thank you so much for spending this time with me on the Secrets from the Saddle podcast, learning more about sighting people, places, and things that make cycling such an exciting sport. I am so glad you stopped by today. Please leave me a review if you feel so moved to do so. I would love to hear your feedback. And if you could take 1 second to share this episode with someone you think would enjoy it, I would be forever grateful. Also, if you could please leave me a review if you feel so moved by going to iTunes and leaving me an honest thought and an honest comment, telling me what you think, and most importantly, tell me what you'd like to hear more of. It would really help me to bring more great, inspiring cycling stories to you. Until then, have an amazing day, make sure you ride your bike, and don't forget to visit my YouTube channel if you'd like to see the full version of this podcast live.